Hey everybody, welcome back to the wood shop for another tools, tips, and tricks video. Today I'm going to try to get rid of some snipe I've been getting with this benchtop planer. And if you use a benchtop planer, you probably know what I'm talking about. I've seen other people who have posted videos on YouTube where they build this solid planer bed jig that goes all the way through the planer. It replaces the infeed and outfeed wings, gives you one solid surface all the way through from the start of the cut to the end of the cut. And I thought, hey, why not try that myself and see if it will actually work. So today I'm going to build that jig to give us a solid planer bed, and we'll test it out and see if it actually works. It won't be anything fancy, it's just a test. Now I'm going to cut the top for this jig out of a piece of MDF that came off of an old computer desk. Now the first thing I got to do is rip this to 12.5 inches wide, which is the width of the planer bed itself. Then the length will need to be 24 inches, which is the length from the tip of the infeed wing to the tip of the outfeed wing. Well, now we need to take off the infeed and outfeed wings from our planer so we can measure the height. That way we'll know how tall the legs need to be for our jig. Now I've run into a problem here. These bolts that hold on the infeed and outfeed table are actually Phillips and straight screwdriver combination. That would be so much better if that was a hex, because the position it's in up underneath this table, you cannot get your screwdriver on it and get enough grip on the screwdriver to loosen the bolt. So what I've had to do is just remove the adjustment screws from each side of each one of the wings and pull them off that way, and that just leaves the little lever sticking out here. And still, I tried getting the screwdriver to it. It's impossible to get enough torque on it to pull those out. So I'm going to take a pair of channel locks, clamp down on the head of this screw, and see if we can turn it that way. Now I did go ahead and put those bolts back on here along with their bushings and spring washers just so that stuff don't get lost. But right now I've got to measure the height from the bench top up to the planer bed. That way we'll know how tall our legs need to be. Now the reason I have this piece of oak sitting here is so I can put it on top of the planer bed and I'll have something to measure up to. Well, the height of our planer bed turned out to be 2.5 inches. So we got some scrap pieces of 2x4 here. We'll go ahead and rip them to 2.5 inches. After that, we'll head back over to the miter saw and we'll have to cut the length of these to fit across the width of the top, which was 12.5. Now I've got the legs, or the feet, whatever you want to call them, they're ready to attach to the top. Now, two of them will go flush with the outside edges, and this one is basically a cleat more than a foot. It'll have to set 7 inches in here, which is the length of the original wing that came on it. But I did figure out while I was measuring all this stuff that this has to be shorter than these because it has to fit in between those bolts that hold the original wing on. So I had to cut about 1.5 inches off of this one. It'll have to center up right here at the 7-inch mark. Basically all this does is sit right up against the planer so the planer don't drag the jig through with the wood. Now like I said, these first two will just mount right flush with the outside edges. First thing we have to do here is do some pilot holes and countersinks for our screws. Now you did see me go over this a little bit with some 220 grit. That was mainly just to remove the burrs around these countersink holes. It scarred up the surface of this laminate a little bit, but it didn't take any of it off. We're good there. There's one more thing I'm going to do before we test this out, and that is add a little paste wax. That way we've got a good smooth surface for our wood to slide on. Alright, now our solid planer bed is all put together and ready for a test drive. Let's see how she works. Well, there it is. And we still have Snipe. It's very little, it's thousandths of an inch, but it's still there. And it did snipe worse on the in-feed end of the board than it did the out-feed end. I don't know why that would be. But we do still have Snipe. Now you can see I put the wings back on the planer. I'm going to run this through again, and we'll compare it with the amount of Snipe we get with the wings on. And there's the Snipe with the wings on the planer. If you can see right there, the line where it begins. I don't see any measurable difference whatsoever between the Snipe with the wings on and the Snipe with the homemade solid planer bed. Well, it was worth a shot, but the solid planer bed didn't work for me. Now, I do have a theory about what causes Snipe in these type of planers. I think that this whole cutter head assembly is shifting up and down. When the board comes in under the intake roller, that causes the front to come up slightly and drops down the cutter head. That causes Snipe at the front side of the board. Then once the board gets to the back roller, it levels it back out. Then the same thing happens in reverse on the back side. Once the board leaves the in-feed roller, it causes the back side to stay up, the front side drops down. That lets the cutter head eat in deeper to that side of the board, because nothing's under the in-feed roller anymore. And that is most likely the best explanation I can come up with for why these lunchbox style planers give you so much trouble with Snipe. If anybody out there has any ideas about how to stop this from happening, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, give us a big old thumbs up. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on all of our new content. You can check us out over on Facebook too, and at woodsongsbyrussell.com. Until next time, happy woodworking.